Welcome to The Verdict. Kent Myers, as you can see, on a set by myself. Mick Cornett is not here this week and won't be for several more, but we'll be back soon. Today, flying solo with our guest, Barry Tramel. Barry is going to come on and talk to us to kind of give us, well, Mick Cornett gave us a state of the city, and the president gives us an address on the State of the Union, and I'm going to ask Barry to kind of give us some information on the state of college football, 2009. Now that the season is finally over, the last game is played, we can look back and kind of assess what has happened, what may happen in the future. We think you'll find it an enjoyable show and really appreciate you joining us. So sit back, let's take a short break, and we'll be back with Barry Tramel to talk about the state of college football 2009.
A greener planet, cleaner air, a healthy economy, national security, a smaller deficit and a stronger dollar, green jobs, better jobs, energy independence, warmth and light and transportation. These are the reasons Chesapeake champions natural gas every day.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers flying solo today without Mick Cornett, but he will be back, I promise you. Today we're really pleased to welcome back to The Verdict for another visit Barry Tramel. Barry is the sports writer for the Oklahoman. He is a native of Oklahoma. He did his undergraduate work at the University of Oklahoma, was with the Norman Transcript for a number of years, then has been with the Oklahoman writing a principal sports column and doing a blog there as well. He also is a host daily on the Sports Animal talk radio. And we're really pleased you'd come back and talk to us and ready to give us your state of the college football address.
Well, thanks, Kent.
Let me ask you, what are your comments? Let's start with the national championship game, the Texas-Alabama game. What are your visceral thoughts about that?
Well, I think Texas, going into the game, I didn't think Texas would win. Coming out of the game, I think Texas would have won if Colt McCoy had not been injured. I think overall, it struck me that the elite teams of 2009 were not as good as the elite teams of 2008. I thought Alabama was better in 08 than 09. I thought Florida clearly was better. I thought Texas was better in 08. I thought those elite teams, including Oklahoma of 08, were superior to what we saw in 2009. I think overall 2009 was a little bit of a down year.
Just from a talent standpoint?
Just from a production and talent standpoint of the elite teams.
What do you think about that Texas quarterback that came in when McCoy went down? And of course, he started out a little ragged, as who wouldn't be put under that kind of a spotlight. But then he kind of came along near the end of the game.
Well, he did. In the first half, Garrett Gilbert was he played as bad as I've ever seen a quarterback play. By the end of the game, he was the best quarterback on the field. He was better than the Alabama quarterback, McElroy. So I thought that was an invaluable experience for Garrett Gilbert. I think Oklahoma fans are going to see a lot of him the next 3 years.
Well, let me ask you, that Texas comeback was pretty impressive, but got stopped by turnovers, I guess, at the very end. Once again, kind of freshman mistakes, I guess.
Well, yeah, and here's the deal. He was put in a terrible situation. He'd produced 2 great touchdown passes, got back within 3 points of Alabama. They get the ball with a chance to tie or take the lead in the last minutes, but 3 minutes left, you're on your own 6-yard line. You have to take chances. You can't play it safe. You got to go try to score. Any other point in the game and you're in more conservative mode, but he goes back, the Alabama blitz creates the turnover and the game's over. And those last 2 interceptions in the last minute or so, I don't really count. So I would give Garrett Gilbert a very high grade for the way he produced.
Now, have you seen a year, or do you remember a year in the past where as many high-quality quarterbacks went down early on and obviously impacted their team, including Zach Robinson for the time that he was?
Well, not in college, I haven't.
Yeah.
This happens in the pros from time to time. We get years where pro quarterbacks go down, and it seems like a bunch in a short amount of time. If you'll notice, most of the rules in football today are designed to protect the quarterback, and they're doing a pretty good job of that. In the NFL, they don't get hurt as much as they used to. College, this was an aberration. I haven't seen something like this. And we'll see if it has any long-standing repercussions. Bradford gets knocked out twice. McCoy gets knocked out of the title game. Tim Tebow has a concussion, puts the whole state of Florida on red alert. Zach Robinson took the tremendous hit against Texas Tech. So, Missouri's quarterback Blaine Gabbert was excellent early, then got hurt and sort of stumbled through the year. Texas Tech, which has had 10 years of healthy quarterbacking, even though they're throwing 70 passes a game. Texas Tech is hit with both of their guys getting banged up. So it was just a sort of a star-crossed year for quarterback health.
There's no, you don't perceive any targeting of the quarterback more now than perhaps used to be?
Well, I think there is more targeting of the quarterback, not necessarily to hurt them, but to hit them.
Yeah.
If you in today's football, if you sit there and let a quarterback throw on you, you're going to get beat. In the old days, a quarterback might complete 50% of his passes. Today, they're going to complete 70. Colt McCoy's a career 70% passer. So the only way to stop Colt McCoy is to keep him from passing, and the way you do that is hit him. Of course, Texas sort of put him out on the ledge, ran the option with Colt McCoy. That's a play I'm sure Mac Brown would like to have back.
I either saw it on your blog or coming or going to your blog, some discussion that perhaps the SEC or other conferences' defenses are catching up with the spread and learning how to cover it better and to shut it down more than has been so in the past. What do you see about that?
Well, I think 2009 was an interesting year because I think defenses did start to catch up with the offenses. The offenses of the last 3 or 4 years with the spread, we've seen it all over the country, but mostly in the Big 12. 2008 was the apex of that, just unbelievable offenses. But this season in 2009, teams we saw a lot more low-scoring games. We saw a lot more defensive-oriented football. I think, and we still had a lot of veteran quarterbacks. So to me, there was sort of a shift in football, college football this year. Defenses seemed to take some of the ground back. We saw this in the 70s with the wishbone. The first few years of the wishbone, couldn't stop it. Towards the end of the 70s, and certainly into the 80s, the wishbone was just a normal offense, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't.
Yeah. Let's change this topic just for a minute. I don't want to open up, I'm willing to talk about whatever you want to, but I'm not trying to open up a discussion about the wisdom of the BCS system. But the question is, do you think the BCS system this year produced in the title game the 2 best teams in the country?
Oh, I'm not sure of that. I think it produced the 2 teams it had to produce. I mean, I don't really know. If you've got 2 unbeatens from one of the 5 major conferences, and I generally don't put the Big East among the top conferences. If you got only 2 unbeatens among those top 5, to me, there's really not a discussion and not a debate. So I have no problem with who got in there. Was Texas one of the 2 best teams in America? I didn't know that going in. I thought there was a chance TCU. If you look at TCU and Texas's schedule this year, they're virtually identical. And TCU dominated its schedule at least as much as Texas did. Now, in the bowl game, I thought Texas proved its mettle. To play Alabama that tough without Colt McCoy, to me, showed that Texas indeed deserved to be there.
Yeah. Let's change this topic for a minute. Let's go to the Sun Bowl. Give me your overall impressions of the Sun Bowl performance of OU.
Well, I thought it was a good, solid, on the offensive side, it was an excellent performance. Landry Jones played perhaps his best game and showed that the quarterback future of the Sooners is in pretty good hands. Now, defensively, the defense played well. On the other hand, Stanford was playing with its backup quarterback, didn't have much of a passing game. Pritchard, the backup, is a veteran. He started 19 games in his career, but he was not much of a thrower. So I don't put a lot of stock in what the defense did in that game, but the defense had proved that it's a very good defense. So all in all, I thought it was an excellent game to get Landry Jones some confidence and some status going into the 2010 season.
Well, before we go to a break, let me ask you one more question about that. Compare your thoughts, or do you see any similarities between this Gerhardt running back for Stanford and Steve Owens?
Well, that's what everybody always says. Now, I got to admit,
I thought it was original with me.
That was one of the discussions in the press box is this guy runs like Steve Owens. My only problem is when Steve won the Heisman in '69, I was 8, and I saw some of the stuff, but I'm going by film, and the game has changed so much, but he certainly does, he looks for people to hit. That's one thing I like. Most tailbacks are trying to avoid tacklers. Toby Gerhardt didn't mind running into you. Yeah. I don't think he's going to be an NFL star. I do think he's going to play in the NFL, and I do think he's a wonderful player. I thought going into the big bowl with Texas, Alabama, that Gerhardt was the best running back in the nation. Now, Mark Ingram was wonderful against Texas, and he proved to me that he's a big-time player too. But Toby Gerhardt's the real deal, and he proved it against Oklahoma. Thanks.
We're going to have to go to a break. We're visiting with Barry Tramel from the Oklahoman, talking about the state of college football.
I'm Major Matthew Newmeyer, currently stationed at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and I'm a Chickasaw. In 2003, when I was part of the drive to Baghdad, I found being a soldier was going to be a lot more than just firing your weapon and being in a combat situation. Being a warrior, but also being the good citizen. That is probably why American soldiers are so respected, because here are 18 to 20-year-olds, 1 minute they're in combat, people are shooting at them. The next minute, they're treating children just as if they were in their own home. That warrior ethos that the Chickasaws had also translates directly to what you do as a soldier. Strength, integrity, the grace, and the idea that you're part of a greater community, that you give to that community, that you find it important to be the best you can be at what you're doing.
Home values are down in some states, but not in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's home values have increased 4.2% during the past 12 months. Unlike some states where home values have decreased as much as 20%. Good thing you're in Oklahoma. There may be real estate problems in some states, but there has never been a better time than now to buy or sell a home in Oklahoma. One of the most affordable states in the country, Oklahomans are buying and selling homes every day, and an Oklahoma Realtor can show you how. Good thing you're in Oklahoma.
Okiwani is an Indian name for a place where children play. When we obtained the camp, we found a lot of oil debris left in the woods. We saw a commercial about how the oil and natural gas industry cleans up old oil well sites. We called the OERB, and they agreed to remove tons of concrete and steel. It didn't cost us a thing. Thousands of children have left their footprints on this land. Thanks to the oil and gas industry, they will for a long time to come.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers visiting with Barry Tramel from the Oklahoman, talking about the state of college football in 2009. As we ended up this last segment, Barry, we were talking about the Sun Bowl and OU. Let's just focus for a few minutes, brief time, one more question about OU. What's your expectation for 2010, considering both graduation / NFL impact and schedule impact?
Well, I think the Sooners will be better in 2010. I don't think they're going to lose 5 games again. They have some holes to fill. Defensively, they'll miss Gerald McCoy immensely. They'll miss Dominic Franks on the corner. But they've got enough pieces. I think they can be very good on defense again. To me, the question is that offensive line. Trent Williams is gone. Brian Simmons is gone. Brody Eldridge is gone. The offensive line wasn't very good this year, and they've lost their best blockers. So they've got to find a way to do a better job of protecting Landry Jones and getting the running game going. If they can piece together an offensive line, they have a chance at a championship year. What's interesting is the schedule, while very tough this year, is equally tough next year. They play Cincinnati at Cincinnati, host Florida State. Both those teams have excellent quarterbacks returning, high-powered offenses. Neither game will be easy. And they play Air Force, and it's option attack. So that'll keep Brent Venables up at night trying to defense the option.
Where is the Air Force game?
The Air Force game's here in Norman. So, that's a game Oklahoma should win and probably will win, but it won't be easy. So then you get into the conference play, and the Sooners have to go to College Station and Stillwater. Not easy places to play for them. But the season will come down to that Texas game. And I think, right now it's a toss-up in terms of who will be the better team. You have to give Texas the edge because of the recent series domination. But there's every reason to be optimistic about Oklahoma football 2010.
Let's change the topic to OSU. Give me your impressions about the Cotton Bowl game.
Well, to me, it was opportunity lost. Match is the biggest Oklahoma State bowl game in 60 years. They've been to the Cotton Bowl twice now in 60 years, and they had a chance to win. Defense played superb against Ole Miss, which had some very good offensive talent. Made Javon Sneed, who's an NFL prospect at quarterback, look very ordinary. Defense just played spectacular, but the offense was not very good. And the truth of the OSU offense is it's sort of been on fumes for the better part of 2009. The last half of when Oklahoma State lost Des Bryant, and then Kendall Hunter had the ankle injury, this team lost its big play ability, and it became a grinded out offense. And that's not what it was designed to do. That's not what it hopes to do. So they were really just sort of just really grinding. And they certainly were grinding against Ole Miss. And still they had a chance to win at 7-7 with 7 minutes left in the game. And then Oklahoma State just sort of self-destructs. 6 possessions in the fourth quarter, 6 turnovers. Never seen that before. Don't expect to see it again.
No. Well, what about Zach Robinson? You couldn't help but feel for the guy. You know he was out there doing his best, but things just weren't working out for him.
Well, Zach was a wonderful player, a wonderful leader for a long time. What happened to him is he got hurt and he also got beat up. And by the end of the year, he was banged up and he was beat up. And, the running ability that he was so much a part of his game was off. So he didn't play well in the Cotton Bowl. In fact, he played awful. But he was just a shell of his former self. A lot of people wanted a change, wanted to see Brandon Weeden come into that game. I think Mike Gundy made the right call. If you'll notice, teams don't fare well when they put in the backup quarterbacks. We saw what happened at Texas when Garrett Gilbert came in. He eventually got his footing, but it was rough for 2.5 quarters. Same thing at the Cotton Bowl. I think Zach still gave Oklahoma State its best chance to win. But that offense was just a shell of its former self.
Well, Robinson has proved to be a winner over his career. No reason to think it was going to change in one game.
Right.
Let me ask you, asking you the same question about OSU that I did OU. What do you think the future holds for OSU next year, considering NFL and graduation and schedule?
Well, the schedule lightens up for OSU, so that gives them a fighting chance. The Cowboys have massive holes to fill. 15 senior starters, no Des Bryant next year. This is a team that people are going to have to sort of be patient with. The good news is they can win 7 games, but the schedule is light. When they get into conference play, it'll be rough. If Oklahoma State can get to 7 wins, that's a very good year. I think they can, but it's not going to be easy. Lots of changeover in the roster. Offensive line is going to have to be rebuilt. The defense has lots of holes to fill. That said, Bill Young did a phenomenal job changing the culture of defense at OSU. So that's something you can build on.
That certainly is a reverse of prior years.
It's easier to rebuild an offense on the fly than a defense. So if you got some defensive stability, that's better than having to just start over on defense.
Yeah. What do you think, is Whedon the heir apparent quarterback?
I think he is. He's not the typical Gundy quarterback for this offense in terms of he's not real mobile and doesn't run around like Zach Robinson. He's not a statue. He can move a little bit, but he's more of a classic drop-back thrower. So I think that will. I think they would prefer to find a more mobile guy. The young guy they're bringing in from Texarkana, Nathan Sorensen, is a very good prospect, but he won't be here in the spring. Whedon will get a big jump on him. I fully expect Brandon Whedon to be the quarterback in 2010.
Let's change the subject. Talk about some fellas that are friends of yours. Mike Leach. Let's start with him. Talk about that circumstance and how do you think it's going to resolve itself?
Well, it's one big mess down at Texas Tech, and now they've hired a coach, Tommy Tuberville, but this is a lesson. Texas Tech and Mike Leach is a huge lesson for us all. Number one lesson is you got to get along with your bosses. To think that you can just go along and alienate your superiors and thumb your nose at the decision makers, there's not very many people on earth that can do that. Certainly Mike Leach wasn't one of them. Yeah. So Mike did not get along with the leadership at Texas Tech, and it eventually got him. Now, was he fired unjustly? Probably. Did he mistreat that kid? Mistreat to me is a little bit of a strong word. I think he was just trying to run off Adam James. Probably a better way to do it than what he did. But Texas Tech was looking for a reason to get rid of Mike Leach, and it found one. So I think that's what happened to him.
Okay, let's in 30 seconds. Will Mangino resurface somewhere?
I think Mangino will have a tougher time resurfacing because the allegations against him were serious mistreatment. I mean, he got personal with players. I think he'll have a tougher time getting back in the college ranks.
All in all, 2009 a pretty good year or not?
In Oklahoma football, I would have to say sort of a disappointing year.
Okay. That's all the time we have, Barry. Thank you so much for the state of college football in 2009. You've been listening to Barry Tramel here on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
It's time to meet the new people in power.
The people responsible for our energy future.
It's you.
It's me. All of us together.
From now on, we're the people in power.
OG&E will supply the power. It's how we apply the power that counts.
We've got to use electricity smarter,
Wiser.
cleaner,
Better.
So we've got to be informed.
Equipped. Prepared.
committed.
From now on, look, nobody wants to waste energy. Nobody wants to build new power plants.
Nobody wants to pay more for electricity.
But nobody wants to give up their way of life.
We don't have to.
If we just use positive energy together.
I'll take advantage of off-peak hours.
That means cutting energy use from 1 to 7 every day.
Every day. I'm going to sign up for more and more wind power.
We'll take advantage of the high-tech tools coming soon from OG&E.
OG&E can't do it alone.
It's you and OG&E working together.
Find dozens of ways you can help at OGE.com.
A positive energy future is in our power. Together.
Good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. a place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers finishing up a show with Barry Tramel from the Oklahoman, talking about the state of college football in 2009. Seemed like a long season with a lot of developments. Barry summarized them quite nicely for us. We do want to thank him for coming in and visiting with us, and you can hear Barry on the Sports Animal Daily in the afternoons. You can also read about what he has to say in the Oklahoman, and on his blog you reach through the Oklahoman website. Speaking of websites, we hope you'll check our website, theverdict.tv. We do pay attention to it. Give us your thought about a show you'd like for us to do, because quite frankly we take those suggestions very, very seriously. Speaking on behalf of Mick Cornett, I want to thank you for this past year, all the good support you've given to us and the viewership that you've given to us, and thank our sponsors as well. We will see you next week on The Verdict. Thanks for watching.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.